honestly truly believe in this day and age, it is actually really good to just start on one and master one platform first, and then you can start expanding. And you can use different platforms in different capacities. I wouldn't say you always have to be good on every single platform, but to have another backup platform just gives you more options. Let's be honest. The 2026 creator economy has in fact shifted. So let me start with something that might make some of the people in this room a little bit of uncomfortable. Most of the people who are watching your guys' content don't actually follow you. They might have liked a video once, they might have watched a reel, and they might even have shared you in a group chat, but they're not actually yours. They're not your follower. And in 2026, that literally means everything and changes everything because the creator economy has quietly shifted. We didn't move into a world of posting, we moved into a world of competing. All right, now I can say, hi, I am Nella. And yes, indeed, I am the head of content at Special Effects Media. I've worked with over 10,000 creators across Africa. And I want you to know that it is not because you are a bad creator, it is simply because attention hasn't grown. The number of creators and platforms and formats have literally exploded, but the problem is human attention hasn't. And this is what I call attention inflation. And when attention stops growing, growth kind of becomes this zero sum. And that's why vibes alone simply do not work anymore. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to tell you strategy is what you need. I actually love what Ijoma said before me. She said, if you say yes to everyone, no one knows what you stand for. So before you click post, ask yourself, what do you stand for? An absolutely incredible quote. I couldn't have said it better, Ijoma. I love that. I think also people have this weird perspective that social media is dying. It's absolutely not dying. What is dying is passive consumption. So, what I mean by this is endless scrolling, recycled trends, content that asks for attention but doesn't actually give any value. Because when people stop scrolling mindlessly, the rules change. People don't just want to watch content anymore. They want content that actually helps them learn, helps them decide, belong, feel seen. And that shift is already incredibly visible in the data. In a report recently covered by Forbes, 62% of 18 to 24-year-olds say that they use TikTok search. Just let's take a moment and think about what that actually means. It means that you're no longer just competing with creators. It means you're now competing with Google as well. And that's why video content is no longer just content. And we can go ahead and play this video while I speak. But video is really becoming an interface. It's not just content anymore, it's becoming an interface. Instagram is rolling out these interactive elements inside videos. So now you can actually add clickable links inside your reels that send viewers completely somewhere else, which means your content doesn't end when the video ends. It means you can now design entire journeys. TikTok, on the other hand, is becoming quite a fast signal. In fact, I would say it's becoming the fastest signal engine on earth with regards to the fact that it can tell you what language is working or what hooks are landing and what ideas people actually care about right now. And LinkedIn is quietly becoming this place where credibility truly compounds, where expertise is rewarded, where creators can turn content into partnerships, into speaking, into consulting, and into brand trust. If you were here for some of the other talks this week, you would definitely already know that. And yet, YouTube remains this almost stability engine, where it's all about depth and retention and income, especially for creators on the African continent. It's one of the best platforms to actually make an income on. And I don't want to leave WhatsApp out of the conversation when we talk about social media, because WhatsApp in Africa isn't just an app. It's really an infrastructure. I mean, I think it's important to take note of what the big platforms are doing. That's why Meta is introducing, channels and subscriptions and discovery inside WhatsApp. It's a very, very clear signal to us as creators that ownership and community are really on the next frontier. That is the future is community, which is amazing for people in Africa who know how valuable that truly is. And this is kind of what I push back on hard, which is this conversation where people say Africa is behind or Africa is not up to date with the creator system. That is absolutely not true. Africa is not behind. Africa is uneven. I think that deserves some celebration emojis. Africa is uneven. Data access is different, different devices, different languages. But even though we're so big, there is still one direction, and that is mobile first content is pioneering, digital first content, and community led. And creators who really know how to communicate clearly, emotionally, and efficiently are well positioned for what comes next. A few years ago, I actually went to Lagos. It was amazing. On this particular trip, I'd actually been asked by a humanitarian organization called Mercy Corps to help young people tell their stories that could change outcomes in their communities. It was during a time where the elections were coming up, and many community members didn't have access to formal education. And the people that I was working with were young women, so between the ages of about 18 to 20 years old. And a lot of them had dropped out of school. They didn't have journalism degrees. They didn't have equipment. All they had was, a smartphone. And so I asked myself a question. What if the phone is actually not a limitation? What if the phone could become a teacher? So I built a Snapchat lens. So, like a filter that you might use on Instagram or in your TikTok, but not a beauty filter. The same technology, but used to become a creative director and prompted them what to film, what questions to ask, how to flip the camera over, and how to frame a moment, and how to speak from personal experience. And suddenly, they weren't just recording, they were telling stories. At Special Effects Media, it's my team's mission to give life to stories that demand the world's attention. And I just want to say the lesson here is that the future of content is not just consumption, it's assisted creation. So tools won't just help you publish, they're going to actually help you make, which means anyone, absolutely anyone now, can become a creator. So I want to tell another story, one a little bit closer to home. So in my home, South Africa, give me a whoop whoop if you're from the southern part with South Africa represent. So I'm from Cape Town, and in Cape Town, just outside Parliament, there's a statue of a colonial figure. His name's Louis Botha. And for many people walking past this statue every day, it's quite a painful story. I'm sure many of you have heard about South Africa's apartheid. It represents, and you can go to the next slide here, but it represents a history where, this place didn't really feel like it belonged to many of us. And we created this during a time when statues were being pulled down. And we asked ourselves a different question. Rather than telling our own stories about how we felt, which was very clear, what if the statue could speak for itself? Not our opinion, not a lecture, but an experience. And so we used technology to build another tool, one that would allow you to scan the statue. And in fact, if you are in Cape Town or if you ever do come in Cape Town, this is still very available to you. You literally just go up, scan the statue, and it comes alive. And it tells the perspective of Louis Botha, one perspective from Louis Botha, and then the other perspective from the horse. So there's two voices in one space. And the viewer isn't told what to think. They are invited to experience in the story. And that's really the shift. Audiences are no longer wanting to just watch stories. They really want to be inside them. And imagine what this could mean for creators, right? If you could attend an event with your followers, what if they could sit next to you while you do your makeup tutorial for Get Ready With Me? And this is exactly what interactivity across platforms is telling us. The future of digital media is participatory. And yes, while things like wearables are coming, those are like AR glasses that you can look through. You can see that. You don't need to build anything like this tomorrow. Don't worry. I'm not saying you need to learn how to do extreme technology right now, but you do need to start thinking differently about storytelling. How do people enter your world as a creator? And here's the hardest part about being a creator in 2026. I know everything feels super urgent all the time, right? Every new feature feels like you're basically already late to the party. You can go to the next slide here. So let me simplify with letting you know what to actually pay attention to. So these are some things that platforms are actively rewarding right now. So the first one is interactive video. We spoke about that a little bit at the top of this talk, which is things that Instagram is prioritizing. So time spent, interactions inside videos, signals beyond likes, beyond vanity metrics. And I think it's really important to note that these things are not gimmicks. They are retention metrics. If a viewer can do something inside your content, they stay longer. The second thing is long form with purpose. So Neil Mohan, so the YouTube CEO, has literally repeatedly reinforced that YouTube's future is based on long form depth. So using long form depth and then shorts as discovery. So creators are really building these like multi-format ecosystems. You start with your long form and then you bring shorts you make shorts to bring people up into it. And when I say long form, I'm not saying long form for the sake of it. And you can go to the next slide here. But I'm not saying long form for the sake of it. I'm saying long form that teaches, reframes, or transforms the way that people are thinking about the world. And the third one is really assisted creation. So AI as a workflow, maybe not as an output. Evan Spiegel, who is Snapchat CEO, said that AI's role is really not to replace creativity, but to remove the friction between idea and expression. So creators who use AI are really speeding up ideation. They're testing their hooks, they're analyzing performance and freeing themselves to focus on the thing that machines really can't do, right? Which is taste, judgment, cultural nuances. Machines can't tell us our direct lives experiences. Yes, exactly, Goldie. Machines can't feel emotions. Exactly. Machines can't emphasize. They can't express. You do that the best, right? So then when it comes to audience behaviors, what is changing? If we know what's happening on the platforms, what's happening with audience behaviors? So we're seeing that audiences are tired of being talked at. And this is why comments matter more than likes. This is why community posts are outperforming announcements. And this is why creators who actually respond to their messages in their chat are growing at a much faster rate than creators who just post and close their apps. Audiences want to feel acknowledged. They want to feel involved and respected. And that's why we're seeing platforms like Discord and WhatsApp and even newsletters, to be quite honest with you, not because they're necessarily trendy, but because they're relational. They're creating that feeling that we are having this conversation together with one another. Audiences want credibility again. And we're seeing this massive swing back towards expertise and clarity. Both the speakers before me spoke about clarity. people who know what they're talking about when they come into these spaces. And audiences want both ends of the spectrum. And I think this is where creators are feeling a little bit of tension, right? On the one side, everybody's telling you to create raw, human, kind of lo-fi content. And then on the other hand, you're probably being told that high-produced, cinematic content is what is needed. And I'm here to breathe a sigh of relief and tell you the answer is honestly not choosing just one of them. The answer is range. So fast content builds presence, but premium content builds belief. And that brings us to something very practical, which is how do you even start? So this is my success rulebook. Make one long form video. And that long form video can become the rest of your content. Your shorts, your reels, your TikToks, your LinkedIn insights, your WhatsApp posts, and your live discussions. Same idea, different doors. And this is how you stay consistent, avoid burnout, and actually increase your surface area for discovery, right? And I do think that maybe this is something some creators might not like to hear, which is going viral is actually not random. I do not believe that going viral is random. There is a recipe, and the only way to learn it is through testing. And people don't like to test because they want to just post once and they want to go viral. But here's the trick. Try posting the same video with maybe like different hooks, maybe different captions, different thumbnails. Maybe you can even change up the edit. Maybe you do one version as a cinematic one with lots of big subtitles, very beautiful. And maybe one is a talking head video. Same script, see which one performs. And it's fine. Your audience is not watching your feed chronologically. The algorithm is testing for you. Your job is simply to just read the signals, pay attention to that, and learn from it and post more of what works. And before you say, oh my gosh, Nella, but I was told I need to post 3 times a day. How can I possibly put all of the strategy that you're saying into all of these videos all the time? Because I know some of you are thinking that. Well, first, technically, you weren't told to post that often. You were probably told to be consistent. And maybe that's our fault as, people in this industry. Maybe it was a little bit of ambiguous of us, but consistency does not always mean volume. It's predictability. Creators usually don't burn out just from creating because, you got into it for a reason, right? You love it. So you're not burning out from creating. You're probably burning out because of chaos. So let me give you another rule. Jam-packed full of rules tonight, guys. Let me give you another rule that removes some of that guilt. The right time to build a team, right? Everybody's like, when should I actually start building a team? How can I alleviate some of the stress that I'm feeling? I am a one-stop shop, right? So the right time to build a team is not necessarily when you're feeling overwhelmed, but it's when your content is performing, but you are the bottleneck. Want me to say that again? The right time to build a team is not necessarily when you feel overwhelmed, but it's when your content is performing, but you are the bottleneck. So if ideas are working out, but output is inconsistent, you don't necessarily need more motivation. What you need is some kind of leverage. You you need a team, but that doesn't always necessarily mean payroll. Your support systems can literally be a simple AI workflow. I'm sure you were told all about that in the AI session earlier this week. Another way is through a structured community, a fixed schedule with actual accountability. I'd actually put a quote here from the founder of LinkedIn, but Toyeso, the speaker just before me, said it better. So here's the quote from the founder from LinkedIn. But what she said was hustle scales fast, sustainability does not. Reid Hoffman said scale comes from doing the things that don't scale until they do. And creators often skip the middle. They either do everything themselves forever or they try to scale too early. And the middle is where systems live. And so here's like a little bit of a little mindset shift for you. Consistency does not always mean how often you post. It means people know what they get from you. They trust your point of view and they return intentionally. And some scalable formats you can use to create this trust is through series. We know YouTube is really pushing series at the moment, recurring themes, playlists, and recognizable structures. These formats truly unlock monetization on platforms like YouTube because brands actually understand you. Your audience trusts you, and platforms reward that level of predictability. It's like a foolproof plan. And in fact, go ahead and, if you can, screenshot this slide, or if you're taking notes, this is the note to be taking. Because this is why live commerce converts. This is literally why education content sells and explainers are outperforming lifestyle videos these days. You're no longer monetizing attention, right? You're monetizing trust and clarity. Brand deals are not bad. They're obviously, it's really great to get brand deals, but they're not the entire business model. In 2026, sustainable creators need to be thinking in layers. Grab your pen and paper, and we're going to go through this one together. Layer one, platform income. So this is considering ads, this is considering long form monetization and shorts as bonuses. Layer two is where your commerce comes in. So this is affiliates, this is your live commerce, and this is really your product-led storytelling. And layer three is your owned relationships. And this one is super important to start building this year because we know it's going to absolutely take off. This is your WhatsApp, this is your email, this is your memberships, this is your communities, right? And then the fourth and final layer is really leverage. So that is consulting and speaking and partnerships. Creators are literally becoming entire media companies. Not accidentally, but quite intentionally. I think it's going to be an amazing shift that we see. In fact, this is why platforms like the Jungle Collective exist. So, if you remember just one thing from today, 2026 is not about doing more. It's about doing what actually matters on purpose. So build formats that scale, build systems that protect you so you don't burn out, and build trust that compounds, not just for this week, not just for this month, but that turns you into something that can be a real business. Some of you are probably going to leave this call and go on and do it alone, while some of you will definitely look for structure and support and accountability. And I really just want you to know that the future of content isn't louder creators. It's creators who are intentional enough to last. Thank you so much for having me here today. This was so much fun. And I'm so glad that I got to read the messages through the chat and feel like we were really having a real conversation here. And yeah, thank you so much for Future Focus.